Hey guys, Matt Winslow here with Davis Tech. Hey, we're going to start a new video series teaching you guys how to go over Autodesk Fusion 360. Now, you may have heard me talk about this, but this is a very powerful program and it's all cloud-based. What I really like about it is, unlike other softwares on the market that cost upwards of $20,000, this is free for students. And it's the full version unlocked, free for students. So you guys can go ahead and download this. Go ahead, press pause on this video now. Go to Autodesk Fusion 360, create an account, and download it now so that you can follow along with me. Okay, now that you've downloaded Fusion 360, I'm going to go over the workspace, and this first video is just going to be a layout on how to get started into Fusion 360. The first thing, if you're on a laptop, I highly recommend getting a mouse with the scroll wheel. It's such a pain in the butt otherwise. And then the first setting that I always change is that you come up to your name, and then you're going to hit Preferences. Under Preferences, Controlling General UI Behavior, you're going to want to change it from Fusion down to SolidWorks. SolidWorks just has a much better layout. When you click the center wheel, you can actually rotate your model, which will make it much nicer, and you're not going to want to pull your hair out. So now that you've done that, this is what first pops up, and it actually comes up like this. This is your data panel. This has all of your projects. Now, if I want to create a new project, I can do that. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to call it Fusion 360, let's call it Fusion 360 Davis Tech, because I'll show you guys this in a sec. But reach out to me and I will add you to this folder so that way we can do projects together. Okay, on here, we have the ability to add people. This is what makes Fusion 360 so very powerful, is that it's cloud-based, and so you're going to have access whether you're at the school, you're at home, whether you're on your PC or iPad or whatever, you're going to have access to this. And so I can add people to this specific folder. So again, reach out to me. It's matthew.winslow@davistech.edu, and then I can get you squared away on this folder, and we're going to use this for projects and things. So you have your data. Now, if I were to save this file, it would go into, or I could choose to put it into this Fusion 360 Davis Tech folder. So this data management is really nice. You click the home button and it'll take you home. You can see I have all my projects that I've done. If they are shared projects, they will say so. Okay, so I have all my projects here. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this, and you can, with that little 9-figured thing, you can hide the data panel. From here, we've got our basic buttons. We've got our file, to where we can save, we can export, we can import, etc. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sketch. Now, and actually before that, I'm going to come to my document settings, and you're going to find that yours is probably going to be set to metric. So uncollapse this, and then you're going to head to this button over here, and you're going to change the active units. So if I were to change this to inch, I would check the check mark to set that as default, and then hit OK. Now we're ready to sketch. This is a very easy layout system that Fusion 360 has. It's solid surface sheet metal tools, and then the first thing that we're going to do is hit Create Sketch. That's going to be the first button on the left-hand side. Now you're going to choose a sketch plane. Okay, I'm going to choose this front sketch plane. You can see that, well, maybe you can't because my face is in the way, but behind here there is a cube that's going to have your axes on there. So I'm working from the front plane right now. You have a bunch of sketch tools here under this Create tab, all right? So if I wanted to create a rectangle, I've got multiple options. I've got a 2-point, a 3-point, or a center rectangle. Let's do a center rectangle because I can start from this origin. I click once and I can bring it to whatever I want. I'm not so concerned with getting the dimensions correct right off the beginning, because if I hit the command D, so hit D on your keypad, you see it turns into a little dimensioning tool. So now if I click a line, I just click it once, I don't need to drag or anything, and then I click it again, I can say whatever I want that rectangle to be. I can do it on this y-axis now as well. So I'll say it's going to be a 5-inch by, call it 3-inch rectangle. And there we go. Now, I can do a number of things from here. I can continue sketching, or I can hit Finish Sketch, and then I can come to this Extrude button. The Extrude is going to be used whether you're building or subtracting. So you're adding material or you're cutting material. Now, because I've only got one profile on here, it automatically added. If there wasn't anything, I would click what I want to extrude, and I can drag this arrow in the direction that I want it to go. Or for a little bit more fine control, I can actually say I want that to be 2 inches. Okay, so we've got a little cuboid, right? Little box. If I want to add things, this is the beauty of this modeler. It's very easy to now pick a face. You can left click and hit Create Sketch, or you can hit Create Sketch and then choose the face that you want. And let's put a, well, let's put a cylindrical feature in there. And again, I click and then I press D, and then I can dimension my circle. Let's make that 1 inch 75. Now, what I can do as well is I can hit the L command, which is just going to be a line. And see, my cursor turns into the line command. You can also access it up here. But I'm going to find the center of this part. And I know when it does that because there'll be an X with a triangle. So I'm going to click that there. I'm going to go straight over to the other one. And then I'm going to hit the escape command, and that's going to bring my cursor back. So if I hit that line, see how it goes a darker shade of blue? I'm going to hit X. And what that's going to do is that's going to turn it into construction geometry, meaning that it's not part of your sketch. So if I were to hit X again, it's a geometry, and see how it bisects that circle? Well, if I turn it back into construction geometry, now it doesn't interfere with that. So the cool thing is, let's say I made a circle over there, I can now use what are called constraints. And you can tell it's what a constraint is by, you'll have a little graphic here that tells you what it is. So in this case, I want to have the center of this circle on that line. Okay, so the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do a coincident command. So I have my coincident pulled up. I'm going to select the center of the circle and the line, and boom, it automatically constrains that to that. So now I can move it still, but I can't move it up and down. I can only move it along that line. If I wanted to constrain it further, I can now add a dimension from the center of the circle to whatever line I want. And let's say that, well, I want it to be 2 inches in. Okay. Now I've got everything constrained, and I know that because this is black. It's no longer a blue color. If I were to take this dimension away, see how it goes back to a light blue color? That is constraining the part there. So 2 inches, it goes solid black, and we're good. Again, we can hit Finish Sketch, or we can go ahead and hit the Extrude command there, and then select the profile that you want. Now, the cool thing about this Extrude command is we can either build a boss, or we can cut a pocket. Okay. In this case, let's go ahead and cut a pocket, and 1/2 inch looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And now I've got a boss, or I'm sorry, a nice cylindrical pocket. Now the other thing that I can do in terms of changing things is if I wanted to change, let's say instead of making it 2 inches from this line, I wanted to make it 3 inches from this line, I can click on the feature, right click on the feature, and hit Edit Profile Sketch. That's going to bring me back into my sketch mode, and I can just double click on this feature and change it. And then hit Finish Sketch, and it will dynamically update my sketch. Let's say if I wanted to make this deeper than 1/2 inch, I do the same thing. I right click on the feature and hit Edit Feature. Instead of making it 1/2 inch down, I'm going to make it 3/4 inch down. And voila, just like that, it's changed. You can see your feature tree down here. So when I click on a feature, there'll be these three little lines on there. That is what feature identifies with that, okay? So I can either change it on the feature tree down at the bottom, or I can directly check the feature itself. Now I can add a chamfer to this if I want to quite easily, and the way that I do that is I hit this top vertice, I right click, and then I can do either a fillet, which would be a radius, or a chamfer. I'm going to go ahead and do a chamfer, and I'm going to do a 20 thou chamfer on that. And this is going to, there's several options that you have, but if you just do equal distance, that means that it's going to be a 45-degree chamfer, and that's what you're going to see most often in a machine shop. And that's really the type of chamfer that you're going to use most often when designing things. So I'll do a 30 thou chamfer, and that looks really good. Now if I wanted to add a fillet or a radius to the bottom here, let's say that I'm using a bull-nosed end mill that's got a 30 thou radius, I can do that. And now I've got a 30 thou radius. You can see, well, maybe you can't. You can see that that's a nice radius in the bottom of that pocket. Okay. Now you can go ahead and again you can edit all sorts of things. So you can go clear back in the feature tree and you can edit things. But keep in mind, if I were to change this to, let's say, 3 inches, now I'm going to cut off half of my circle. Okay, so there can be implications, based on what you change clear back in the feature tree. So it is important to constrain things. Remember when I was talking about your sketch will go fully black? That means that sketch can't be moved, because then it's easy to go back into the profile sketch and go, well, I changed my initial size of that block, so now I'm going to move it right in the middle, 1.5 inches, and voila, we're set. Okay guys, so that's going to be it for the first video. What I want you guys to do is, hopefully you followed along and you create this object. I want you to play around and get familiar with making sketches and creating whatever shape you want, extruding those sketches, and then adding sketches on top of that extrusion, and then either cutting into it or making it a boss. Also play around with fillets and chamfers, and then while you're at it, go ahead and change some features down here in the feature tree and get familiar with that. You can also find all the sketches that you've made here in this tab. So if I were to turn this little eyeball on, you can now see them. It gets annoying sometimes, so by default they turn off after you extrude them. All right. So again, feel free to email me at matthew.winslow@davistech.edu, and then I can get you on this project folder. I'm going to be doing some cooler stuff that will pertain to the CAM side, which we'll get into in some later videos. So stay tuned for video 2.